right, thank God it's Friday. Definitely, we are here to talk about sporting stories and make the rounds in the world of sports. Yesterday, the UEFA Europa League and the Europa Conference League games went down yesterday, where there were some victories for some certain teams. But you talk about some other club sides. It was not the best of nights for them. The likes of Wu. I talk about Nottingham Forest. We are definitely they are struggling on the European scene. 0-0, the game ended yesterday. Morgan Gibbs-White lost a penalty in the course of that encounter as well. And then later this weekend, we have a game set to go down across different centers. We'll definitely talk about that. The Nigeria Premier Football League. And then going into the weekend, that's much more. That's a Formula One race set to go down later this weekend. Who will come out on top? That's the Brazilian Grand Prix. We know that Lando Norris tops the Drivers' Championship. Oscar Piastri second. Max Verstappen third in the Drivers' Championship. Concluded already, that's the Constructors' Championship, which definitely went the way of the McLaren, where we have their two drivers at top of the standings in the Drivers' Championship. So this weekend, what should we expect in Brazil, where these three drivers go head-to-head against each other? And then we talk about football stories for those games set to go down in Europe. Top 5 leagues from the English Premier League, the Spanish La Liga, the Italian Serie A, the German Bundesliga. Well, definitely lots of actions set to go down. In the Nigerian scene, there is also latest development where definitely is all down to the conversation we had yesterday as regard the officials who definitely have been shortlisted to officiate the game between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Panthers of Gabon. Well, the former NFF technical director, Barrister Chris Green, he said that, well, the referee appointment is fair, and since there is no proven nexus between the association and the refereeing body, we should not get distracted. Well, what he said, sense, it doesn't make sense. We'll take a listen to the words of Barrister Chris Green, the former technical director, speaking about that course that's earlier today. And then we just take a look at some other developments. Yesterday, Remo Stars lost their game in the Nigeria Premier Football League, and Nasarawa United went top of the standings in the NPFL. And then he also discussed about the run for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Do we have our squad ready? I think before the end of the day, we should have the list of players set to represent the three-time African champions ready for that game against the Panthers of that Gabon. I have Dolapo with me in the studio. Peter surely would have walked into the studio definitely to join us on today's edition of the program, Scoreboard Reloaded, right here on 32 FM 94.9. Good afternoon, Dolapo. It's such a pleasure having you right here in the studio once again this lovely Friday afternoon.
Good afternoon, SAMIES, and to everyone who has joined us on the show this afternoon. It's always a pleasure to come here to talk sports.
All right, definitely a pleasure. We start straight from the latest developments from the European scene yesterday. From all of the games that went down, which of these actions definitely made that moment for you yesterday in the world of European football?
Oh, well, for the UEFA Europa League, I think for all of the games I saw yesterday, looks like this year's Europa League is not going to be as interesting as we saw last season, maybe because of the big names that are not there. But definitely I saw a game, and that was the game between Midtjylland and Celtic. That was a very interesting game to see. Midtjylland have been very good, aside from Denmark, have been very good this season. And their last 12 games, they are yet to lose a single game. And again, against Celtic, who looks like this season has been very, very poor for them in the league. Even for both the top sides from Scotland, that is Celtic Rangers and Rangers. Both sides have been struggling big time this season. They are 9 points. Celtic are 9 points behind Hearts in the league in Scotland, and in the UEFA Europa League as well. They are not really performing well after you expect them to be playing in the UEFA Champions League, but they got down to the UEFA Europa League, and you would expect them to perform well, but no. They lost to FC Midtjylland again yesterday by 3-1. And Midtjylland have been very good this season in the UEFA Europa League. They've not dropped a single point. They've been winning their games in the UEFA Europa League and also away in their league. Another game which caught my eye was the game between Stormgrass and Nottingham Forest. Morgan Gibbs-White missing a penalty in that game. For Nottingham Forest, after the first game for Sondage, not really that they have performed really well. after his first game after defeating Porto 2-0 in the UEFA Europa League. Yes, they got a valuable draw against Manchester United over the weekend. That 2-2 draw against Manchester United was a very good one for them. But then, in the UEFA Europa League, these are games you expect them to win against sides like this. Yes, Stormgrass are not pushovers in the league in Austria where they are coming from. They have been good. But when you look at them this season, they have not really been the Stormgrass that we saw 2 seasons and last season ago when they had the likes of 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐒 in the team who was scoring goals for them. Since 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐒 left Stormgrass for Monaco, Stormgrass have been struggling big time in the league and also in the UEFA competition. So I was expecting Nottingham Forest to win that game, but then they still couldn't get all 3 points in that game, and they are putting themselves in a very tight position if they want to finish in the top 8 of the UEFA Europa League.
What a situation that is. That's we'll talk about European football. But yesterday for Crystal Palace, I didn't think you made mention of that. They gave a good performance as well. 3-1, their first victory in front of their home fans. That's at the Shells Park yesterday. But then we talk about Nigerian football. I know if before the end of the show we can have that conversation as regards a bit of European football. But now we talk about African football and Nigerian football. We just take a listen to the words of the former NFF technical director in person of barrister Chris Green. Would definitely situation as regards the game, the World Cup qualifiers between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Panthers of Gabon. And for the Panthers of Gabon, yes, they've released the list of players are set to represent them, and the Premier Aubameyang definitely leads the list of players set to represent them in that World Cup playoffs. Remember, just 2 games would go down, semi-finals, and also that's a final where, of course, the winner would go play in the Intercontinental playoffs. But first, let's take a listen to the words of barrister Chris Green.
Me, if I have to speak realistically, it's up to them. It's at their discretion, the referees appointment committee, to choose referees for any of the games. But for me, I think it's fair because I cannot read any undertones because we're not playing any of the teams in South Africa or in the former Southern Rhodesia or even Rhodesia itself. So I see pure neutrality, and then we should take it. It is only when when there's no filial relationship, there's no affinity between them. Let's play a game. All I'm saying that we should not get all of this is under our belt. We get distracted. We are going to get distracted. Let us focus, concentrate, and then play and win. For me,
all right, there you listen to the words of the Rivers State Sports Commissioner and former NFF Technical Director, barrister Chris Green, urging Nigerians and also the Super Eagles of Nigeria to remain focused on not to be distracted by the talk of a refereeing appointment ahead of the 2026 World Cup playoffs between Nigeria and Gabon. Yesterday, I think we were here discussing about the situation that it doesn't make sense since we played in the same group as alongside that the officials are from South Africa and the Benin Republic, and definitely I go through the list of those officials once again. We are leading the match would be Abonga Thomas, the center referee, Zakel Chusi, that's Granville Siwela, while Akona Zenith Makalima will handle the video assistant referee duties, and the referee assessor is Alian Ajovi, who hails from Benin Republic, South Africa, and Benonians. So these are the ones who definitely would officiate the game between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Benin Republic. But here he is saying it doesn't need for that much outcry. We shouldn't lose our focus. We shouldn't get distracted. We should just focus on our game and ensure that we gain a promotion, a victory over Gabon, and also a victory over that Cameroon or Democratic Republic of Congo. Those are the other 2 nations who definitely will be involved in the World Cup playoffs. What are your own observations? Or
I don't think, and I don't know if this would be a distraction, because if we are not talking now, if we are not speaking loud enough now for the guys in charge of Nigerian football and for CAF and for FIFA to see this thing, we might just be putting ourselves in a very tight position, big time, because I can recall that we were in the same group with this same South Africa and Benin when we wanted to qualify. We stopped Benin from qualifying for the World Cup. I don't understand where he is coming from when he's saying we have no affiliation to them. We stopped Benin for qualifying for the World Cup. If they didn't come here to lose 3-0, they would be in the World Cup instead of South Africa. And we got South Africa, we allowed South Africa to get deducted of 3 points in that same group. If you don't remember, we were the one that started the talks of them using an ineligible player. and that was why they got deducted 3 points in that same group. So, and anything that has to do with South Africa and Nigeria, we've seen the head of football in that same country come out to say it does not want Nigeria to qualify for the World Cup. So there is a lot of things. You can't put rivals. You can't put referees from rival plays to come and officiate games that is this important. Yes, you might say countries like Gabon is not talking. It has nothing to do with them. It is Nigeria that it has a lot to do with. Just like Peter said yesterday, I would prefer them to have referees from the North African countries, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt should be the one officiating these games. They have nothing to do with this. They've qualified. They've done their assignments really well, and all of them have qualified. Put them on the pitch. Let them officiate these games. This is a game that would say a lot in what would happen in the next 4 years. Nobody will stop talking about it in the next 4 years. If the referee make bad decisions that affects the games in the next 2-3 years, we'll still keep on talking about it. We didn't qualify for the World Cup because the referee failed to. We didn't qualify for the World Cup because the VAR failed to do something. And it would be very easy for them now, 6 games before the game or 7 games before the game, for them in the glass house to go and write to CAF and FIFA and tell them, we don't want these referees. You can tell them you don't want it, and they will change it. So I don't think it is a distraction. The only distraction that is there is that it will put a lot of. Fine, it might be good for us that the way we are talking and they didn't change it. The referee would want to come out and say, okay, I have to show that I am here. I'm worthy of being here. But then, regardless, prevention is better than cure most times. So that is the best thing to do.
Well, that's been the best thing to do. We actually hope for the best also within that game for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And probably before the end of today, the list of players are set to represent the 3-time African Cup of Nations winners ahead of that game against Gabon would definitely be out. Well, definitely you also still look at some other developing stories that make the rounds today in the world of sports. The list of players are set to represent that's Gabon. But just the information reaching me that there has been an exchange a few minutes ago between, we'll still talk about that really. But then we just talk about some other developments making the rounds in the world of sport. For Gabon, at this point in our qualification to the World Cup, they have released the list of players set to represent them at the World Cup qualifiers. Premier Aubameyang, yes, definitely leads the line. The man who shares this pitch also with Victor James Osimhen there in Galatasaray. That's Mario Lemina is also on the list of players set to represent the Panthers of Gabon. So the list definitely is here, but we can't go through all. But Nigeria's hope of having Káyọ̀dé represent them probably is eating that's a roadblock at this point, as Michael Káyọ̀dé has been listed in the Azuri's squad for the World Cup qualifiers. Well, I think this is fair for so many Nigerians who think they can go reap where they didn't sow.
Well,
where they go sow. How do they put it? They go reap where they didn't sow. I think that's just it.
Well, now it is gone now, and I think everybody can now calm down.
It's not really
focus.
gone. He hasn't played.
Well, he hasn't played, but you have a feeling that he's going to play, especially with the way the defense line of the Italians have been over the last few weeks.
Gattuso has been using 3 at the back.
Yes,
late,
so he can play, and then if you impress him, he might just play very well for the national team. Well, I think it is just good, just a very good thing now for many Nigerians that have been call Káyọ̀dé, and I think that is one of the reasons why the Italian national team called him up, because they've been seeing those call him.
Talk about the 2 Nigerians are within the Azuri squad now.
They are both defenders.
Destiny
I think they still have another one. There's a particular guy in Torino as well. I've forgotten the guy's name now. He's also there. So they have 2 of them in the defense and 1 of them in the middle of the park. Before it was England taking Nigerian boys, but now we have Italy there too. We have a lot of talents that we can give out to other countries, bigger countries. We can give them out when we don't even have enough defenders. We can focus on our players. This is not all. We have Benjamin Fredericks here as well, and then he came out from somewhere in this same country. We can look for more talents, and we'll get more to give. If we keep on focusing on, we want to look for players that are affiliated to other countries or that can play for other countries, or players that are brought up abroad, it would not do us any world of good, because it is very hard for a player to pick between Nigeria and Italy. it is like on our own page, it would be very hard for a player to decide, okay, I would go and play for the Super Eagles of Nigeria when the Azuris of Italy is calling me. It will be very hard when the Three Lions of England is calling you and you say you want to go and play for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It is not an easy decision. Not everybody is the Alexander Iwobi of these days. And you can think about it then too, that if Iwobi has been called up to the national team of England, he wouldn't have come here. Many of these guys, the Lookmans and all of that, they wouldn't have come. So
there are some who definitely were called up and they never got
showed
the opportunity again for England. I mean,
yeah, the likes of Tammy Abraham, Fikayo Tomori. But then,
and there are some who just had one cap.
That is because they dropped their form and they left England. You feel like it's because Fikayo Tomori. Fine.
But I think it's just about reasoning. There is a certain position within England, English football now. There's no way you can bench him.
Where?
The striking position. There's no way you are going to bench a fit Harry Kane.
It's not possible.
It is
but
not
there is
possible.
a very big chance for you to be the backup. And yes, there's a very big chance for you because they don't have a. When you look at that team now, going by the list they dropped today, the only striker in that list is Harry Kane. They don't have a quality backup striker for him. They don't have someone who you can put and say, okay, this is someone who you can hit our chest and tell you if Harry Kane is not here, he's going to bang goals. The likes of Ole Watkins have not been the same person. If Anthony was there some years ago, he's not there. And that is why we're having the conversation of, would we get Danny Welbeck into the plane going to the USA for the World Cup? So they don't have strikers. So if you are on a good run of form, you are scoring goals wherever you are as a striker for the Three Lions of England, the only striker they have is Harry Kane. So you can go there and be the backup. When he's not around, you score goals. And you have a young age. Harry Kane is old. He's close to 30. He does not have 4 or 5 years again in football. So if you can be consistent, 2-3 years, you are called up when you get a small chance, the 10-15 minutes, you bang in goals, your name will be registered. You would have that name of, okay, when we don't have Harry Kane, we have this person. And with time, even before Harry Kane will retire, there would be talks of, okay, play the two of them up front if you are performing. So it depends on what you are doing too. So I think that place is where they have you have a chance to become the future. Probably the presence will be very hard because it is very hard to take Harry Kane out of that team at the moment. He's the captain, he's scoring goals every time for club and country. But you can be a very good backup for the Three Lions of England as a striker.
All right, we'll definitely talk about that. And for England, Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford, and Nick Pope definitely makes the list. Yes, this is what I call competition. All of them are starters for their club sides.
But we all know who starts.
That can be a subject to change now.
No!
It can be.
I don't
Dean
think
Henderson
so.
has been impressive with Crystal Palace.
He has always been impressive.
Nick Pope has also been
He has
with
always
Newcastle.
been impressive.
But
even when Aaron Ramsdale was very impressive at Arsenal, winning the Golden Glove, he didn't bench Jordan Pickford.
Was Thomas Tuchel the manager?
Okay, let's see.
Definitely not. Dan Bond, Mark Gueye, Rhys James, Ezra Konsa, Nico O'Reilly, who definitely is playing that left back position just so well with that's Manchester City, which definitely has also put Miles Lewis-Kelly out of the squad. Jaro Kwanzaa, who plays for Bayer Leverkusen, Jed Spence, and John Stones makes the defense line. Midfielders, Elliot Henderson, Jude Bellingham, Jordan Henderson, Declan Rice, Morgan Rogers, Alex Scott, Adam Watson. Definitely make the short list of players. And then forwards, Jarrod Bowen, Eberechi Eze, Phil Foden, Anthony Gordon, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, and Bukayo Saka. They all make the short list of players set to represent the Lions of England in a bid. Well, they already qualified to the World Cup. This is just one of those games for them. But then we move away from that and talk about a bit of that's European football. But before football, let's talk about Formula One. Dolapo later this weekend. It's all about the Brazilian Grand Prix. What do we expect from Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Oscar Piastri? Because for Max Verstappen, well, he has come out to say that, well, he's ready to go all in to close the gap to McLaren. And for that's his name
Lando
now,
Norris.
Oscar Piastri. He has dismissed the conversation as regards him out of the title race. Remember, since April, I think he dropped 54 points at the top of the standings, and this is the situation where things are also for him at this point. He is now second. We have Lando Norris top and Max Verstappen third. 1 point difference between first and second, and 36 between first and third. What do you expect in Brazil? It has started. That's what we'll talk about, the qualifiers. And
Well, interesting days ahead for Formula One lovers, and even for people who are not really fans of Formula One. I would tell you to put an eye on the Formula One over the next 3 or 4 races to go. It is going to be interesting to see, because Max Verstappen won't back off, especially with just 36 points to go. Lando Norris would want to keep his spot as the first person, and also Oscar Piastri, we never can tell what he is up to. He has not been impressive since the last few months. Now he has been going down, losing points. He was at the point in time leading Lando Norris with 40 or 45 points, and now he's 1 point behind Lando Norris. Lando Norris would want to keep that form. He would want to keep going. For Max Verstappen, it would be very hard, because when you look at it on the grand scheme of things, yeah, he has the talent. He has won all of those. The last 2 or 3 the last 2 or 3 championship, he has been the leader. But then, this is Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, who arguably has the fastest car on the road. So these guys they might not be as good as Max Verstappen, but they have a very fast car. They just have to keep their head up. But one thing I want to see is what McLaren will be up to themselves. It will be very hard now to say we want to go for a driver. We want to put Lando Norris there to go for the title. We want to put Oscar Piastri.
That'll be so late in the season, and it can cause that's a breakout and disparity between both drivers.
So it's not something you expect them to do. They will just free them and allow them to go, which is something I feel like they should work on next season. Maybe if one of the 2 drivers win it this year, you give the person to be the driver of the first driver of the team. Though I'm not very sure Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris would want to go as the second driver. But then that is one, because this is one thing that have affected them a lot this season. If not that they didn't prioritize, if not that they didn't prioritize any driver, probably by now it would just be a fight for who would finish second between maybe Lando Norris or Max Verstappen or Oscar Piastri. It should just be a fight of who would finish second, because at the start of the season, Max Verstappen was not really on that form. And almost the same thing happened to McLaren last season too. When it was time to chase, when Max Verstappen was dropping points, they were not prioritizing anybody. Oscar Piastri was winning some races, Lando was winning some, and that was why they lost the title to Max Verstappen again. And it is still possible this season, although I don't see that happening. I still expect Lando Norris to go on and win. But for this race in Brazil, I think it will be tight, it will be tough. But I'm expecting a McLaren driver in the top 3 on podium, Max Verstappen on podium, and I'm also expecting a Ferrari or Mercedes driver in the podium. I don't see both Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris on podium. I feel one of them will finish outside of the top 3.
Well, let's see how that goes later on Sunday there in Brazil. But before we talk about football, let's talk about tennis stories. Once again on the show, well, in the semi-final games are set to go down today there in Athens in Greece. Novak Djokovic will be up against Anfman, and then Sebastian Korda will be up against Lorenzo Musetti while in the women's game. So what do we expect also later today in the singles finals of the player that's at WTAs? Jessica Pegula will be up against Elena Rybakina. Arina Sabalenka will be up against Amanda Anisimova. But we talk about the men's ATP finals as well. Novak Djokovic will take on Carlos Alcaraz in the group stage of the upcoming ATP finals, while Yannick Sinner could face a derby with Lorenzo Musetti during his title defense at the season-ending tournament. The tennis icon Djokovic, a 7-time finals champion, was confirmed. That was on Monday earlier this week, has been amongst the 8 contenders in Turin and has been drawn in the Jimmy Connors group alongside that top seed Alcaraz, Taylor Fritz, and Alex de Minaur. Well, what a challenge this would be again for Novak Djokovic, who is aiming to also stay relevant until the age of 40 there in the world of tennis. And now we talk about football stories. Games, actions are set to go down across different centers starting from tonight. There in Spain, in Germany, is Werder Bremen against Wolfsburg. And in the Italian Serie A, Pisa will be up against the Cremonese. And in France, Paris Football Club will be up against the Rennes. There in the French Ligue 1. But tomorrow, actions are set to go down vividly across the different centers. Early kickoff, 1:30 at the Tottenham Stadium. It's Tottenham Hotspur against the Manchester United. Brandon Buemo, player of the month. Ruben Amorim, manager of the month. That is the challenge for Manchester United at this point in time. Everton against Fulham, West Ham against Burnley, Sunderland against Arsenal. Granit Xhaka says he won't celebrate if he scores against Arsenal. Mikel Arteta also come out to say, well, definitely he appreciates all the moments in which Granit Xhaka spent with him at Arsenal Football Club. And also, one of the summer signing to the English Premier League for the 2025-2026 football season. Chelsea will be up against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and in the NPFL, Katsina will be up against the Barao Football Club in the Nigeria Premier Football League. And in Spain, Atletico de Madrid against Levante, Espanyol against Villarreal, Sevilla against Osasuna, Girona will be up against Deportivo Alaves, Bayer Leverkusen against Edenham, Hamburger will be up against Borussia Dortmund, Hoffenheim against Leipzig, Union Berlin against the Bayern Munich, Borussia Mönchengladbach against the Cologne. And then we have another challenger for AC Milan. They'll be up against the Parma. Of all of these games on Saturday, the Lakpo, I'm very sure you would actually have your sights there at the Stadium of Light. But the game set to go down at the Tottenham Stadium.
That is those two games I want to see over the weekend. Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United would be big because both sides have been inconsistent this season. Spurs, today they perform well, tomorrow they are performing badly. Manchester United, the same thing. Today they are good, tomorrow they are not good. Well, I feel like it will be a very interesting game to see. I don't want to go on and predict this game, but I don't see any of them winning. Let me go for a draw in this game.
Going for a draw. Manchester City also will be up against the Liverpool. That's on Sunday by 5:30. But we'll be here tomorrow, the pitch, by 3 to discuss much more about football stories. I've done this alongside Dolakpo. I am SAMIES, your sports captain. I say do enjoy the rest of the day, and bye for now.